1972 was the year music got real and the industry got dirty. While you were singing along to these hits, record labels were screwing over artists. Songs were getting banned for ridiculous reasons, and some of your favorite performers were battling demons that would make today's stars look like choir boys. Don McLean spent 5 years perfecting this song after Buddy Holly's death in 1959. He was working as a paperboy when he started writing it in 1969, and the Los Angeles Free Press wouldn't print the lyrics because they were too long. McLean has admitted the song isn't just about rock and roll's death. It's his commentary on America losing its innocence in the 60s, deliberately kept vague so listeners could project their own interpretations. McLean originally wanted to call it American Pie Parts 1 and 2 because he knew it was too long for radio at 8 minutes and 42 seconds. His producer insisted they release it as one piece, making it the longest song to hit number 1. DJs initially refused to play it until listener demand forced their hand. In 2015, McLean sold the original manuscript for $1.2 million, finally revealing some secrets after 40 years. Al Green started in gospel before forming Al Green and the Creations at 16, but nearly quit music in 1967 after his secular career flopped. Producer Willie Mitchell discovered him by accident at a Texas club and convinced him to move to Memphis. Green's switch from gospel to soul caused a massive rift with his religious family, who viewed his sensual performances as sinful betrayals of his Christian upbringing. Green originally hated Let's Stay Together, thinking it was too simple when Mitchell played the basic track. It was recorded in one take during a casual jam session, with Green improvising most lyrics while thinking about his tumultuous girlfriend. High Records almost didn't release it because it seemed too similar to Tired of Being Alone, but DJs started playing the demo anyways, forcing the label's hand. Without You by Nilsson. Harry Nilsson was going through a bitter divorce and struggling with severe alcoholism when he recorded this. He discovered Badfinger's original version of Without You by accident while playing their album as background music at a party. Critics accused Nilsson of copying Badfinger's arrangement note for note, though he claimed he never listened closely to their version before recording his own. Nilsson recorded his vocal in 2 takes. The hit version was the first take. He was so drunk he couldn't remember recording it the next day. The emotional intensity came from genuine heartbreak over his failing marriage. Tragically, both Badfinger writers, Pete Ham and Tom Evans, later took their own lives, partly due to the financial disputes over this song's royalties that created legal nightmares rather than securing their futures. Hey friends, these stories behind the classics might surprise you. Drop a comment telling us which 1972 song still gives you chills, and hit that subscribe button, and share this with someone who lived through the magic of 1972. Neil Young formed Buffalo Springfield in 1966, but internal conflicts and Stephen Still's ego led to their breakup 2 years later, pushing Young into an unwanted solo career. He recorded Heart of Gold in Nashville with country session musicians he'd never met.
I've been a miner for a heart of gold. It's these
deliberately avoiding his rock sound. Young has openly admitted he wrote this as a deliberate attempt at commercial success, confessing he sold out his artistic principles, something he later regretted and spent years trying to rectify. Young recorded while suffering severe back pain, which gives his voice that vulnerable quality. James Taylor and Linda Ronstadt provided backing vocals, but were so stoned they kept missing cues, forcing Young to piece together harmonies from multiple takes. Young became so embarrassed by the song's commercial success that he avoided performing it live for over a decade, claiming it represented everything he hated about the music business. America formed in London in 1970, where 3 American military brats met at an English high school while their fathers were stationed overseas. Their success was complicated by an anti-American sentiment during Vietnam. Dewey Bunnell, who wrote the song, admitted he'd never been to a desert. The entire song was inspired by National Geographic magazines in doctors' waiting rooms. The environmental message came purely from his imagination. Originally titled Desert Song, It was renamed to A Horse with No Name when someone noticed the horse wasn't given a name. Radio stations initially banned it, thinking horse was drug slang. The band recorded it in 3 hours, using a cheap acoustic guitar that was falling apart. You can hear it buzzing throughout the recording, but they kept it because they liked the organic sound rather than re-recording with better equipment. Roberta Flack was 35 and teaching music in Washington, D.C. when she recorded The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face.
The first time ever I kissed you.
Having performed in small clubs for over a decade with little recognition, British folk singer Ewan MacColl wrote it in 1957 for his lover, Peggy Seeger. Flack discovered it at a late-night jam session and transformed it from a simple folk tune into an intensely sexual and spiritual experience, making MacColl initially uncomfortable since it wasn't his original intention. Flack was so nervous, she asked the engineer to turn off all the studio lights, recording the entire vocal in complete darkness to help her concentrate. The producer stretched the original 3-minute recording to over 5 minutes by looping sections because he thought the performance was too beautiful to end quickly. Clint Eastwood discovered it playing in a restaurant and used it in Play Misty for Me, launching it to #1 because a movie star liked it during dinner. These are the songs that shaped your live's soundtrack. Share your memories of hearing these tracks. Were you in love, heartbroken, or figuring out the world? Comment below, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe for more musical time travel. Joe Tex began in the 1950s as an R&B singer, but developed his unique rapping style during live performances, making him an early hip-hop pioneer. His career was nearly derailed by violent confrontations with James Brown over women and territory. His 1966 conversion to Islam caused friction with his Christian audience, though he kept this largely private from white fans to avoid further controversy. Tex was struggling financially and had been dropped by several labels when he recorded I Gotcha.
I gotcha! You thought I didn't see you now, didn't you?
The song was created in one afternoon with Tex improvising the entire vocal performance, including spoken word interludes. The backing band had no idea what he'd say next. Tex recorded multiple versions with increasingly explicit lyrics. The radio version was the most tame, with unreleased alternate takes containing material so risque, his label threatened to shelve the project. Sammy Davis Jr. initially hated the song, thinking it was beneath his artistic credibility as a serious performer. He'd been performing since age 3, and by 1972 was dealing with massive gambling debts, taking projects purely for money rather than artistic fulfillment. His 1954 conversion to Judaism after a near-fatal car accident created an unusual intersection of racial and religious identity that confused both black and white audiences. Davis recorded the Candyman almost by accident while working on other material.
The Candyman can. The Candyman can, 'cause he mixes it with...
Producer Mike Curb played him this Willy Wonka song, and Davis knocked it out in under an hour just to get it over with. He was so embarrassed by its success that he rarely performed it in Vegas, preferring jazz standards. Ironically, this children's song became his biggest solo hit, outselling all his previous recordings combined, a fact that frustrated him until his death. Bill Withers didn't start music until age 32, after 9 years in the Navy and working at Boeing, making airplane toilet seats, a job he kept even after his first record deal because he didn't trust the unpredictable music industry. Growing up in a coal mining town in Slab Fork, West Virginia, he developed a severe stutter that influenced his spare musical style. He often wrote songs about community support as a way to cope with feeling like an outsider. Withers wrote Lean on Me in 20 minutes at his home piano, inspired by memories of his tight-knit community where neighbors looked out for one another. It was recorded with minimal production using studio musicians he'd never met, but they spontaneously created the gospel-like hand claps and call and response sections. Originally conceived as a simple folk song with voice and piano, the solo arrangement was added as an afterthought, yet became one of the most covered songs in popular music history. Neil Diamond dropped out of NYU one semester before graduating to pursue songwriting in the Brill Building, writing hits for others while struggling to establish his performing career. His early years were marked by constant rejection. Multiple labels dropped him, saying his voice wasn't commercial enough. Critics often dismissed him as overly sentimental, though his massive fan base never cared about professional opinions. Diamond wrote Song Sung Blue after becoming obsessed with Mozart's Piano Sonata No. 11, which he discovered while channel surfing late one night. He spent weeks trying to capture that melodic feeling with contemporary lyrics. The recording was completed in one day, but Diamond was so uncertain about its commercial potential that he almost left it off the album, only including it to meet the label's track requirements. 1972 gave us the soundtrack to our lives, our loves, losses, and triumphs. These songs climbed into our hearts and stayed for 50 years. So, which story surprised you the most? Did it change how you hear these melodies? Drop your thoughts below. We read every comment and love hearing from fellow music enthusiasts. Subscribe, ring that notification bell, and share with friends who remember when albums cost $3 and the music actually meant something. Keep the music playing and the memories alive.